Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to the 7th round, the program that takes a look at events around the continent on your Pan-African television, LabelTV, broadcasting from Libreville. My name is Joe Willie. With me to discuss today's issues are Jean-Michel Bade.
Good afternoon, Mr. Willie, and good afternoon to our viewers. Thank you for having me.
And Wen Pendi.
Always a pleasure to be among you guys.
Thank you for coming. We are going to discuss Fela, a Nigerian legend, Afrobeat legend. Fela Kuti has been nominated for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for 2021. We will come back to discuss the issue after this report.
The first election and the second election all in Nigeria. And the second election now you was a pass. Babala nonsense. The rigging, it was corruption.
That report was by Uche Chinwe, the legendary Nigerian musician, made this year's list of nominees more than 2 decades after his death. Jean-Michel.
Yeah, we feel very proud, high sense of pride from that nomination, because we all know about Fela Kuti, and for those who have known him, the new generation, it's high time they knew it. So very, very proud of what's going on here.
Yes, Wen Pendi, Fela was nominated alongside 15 other artists, including rappers JC, LL Cool J, R&B stars Mary Blige, Chaka Khan, and Dion Warwick. If he wins this, what would this mean to African music 20 years after?
Well, I mean, we just be very happy. We just be very happy because just like Mr. Jean-Michel was saying, we're talking about an African legend. He's a source of inspiration for thousands of musicians all around the continent right now. So we'll just be happy to share this nomination first, and then maybe the victory at the end of the day.
Yes, Jean-Michel, Fela was outspoken critic of several military regimes in Nigeria and was often arrested for maybe one of his songs. Why do you think not only Fela in this perspective, we look at some of these African musicians who have been very critical of the government, sometimes they end up being arrested. Do you think a song by musician should spur government to maybe clamp down on the music or musician?
Well, unfortunately for those government, it's because they sometimes feel very threatened. But on the other side, flip coin, artists have to bring topics like lively to people so that they know artists are not just here to sing. And like the late Fela would say, his music was not just about entertainment, it was also about raising awareness of what was going on in this country. And when you talk about how he went against the government and what they would say, the policies, etc., he came up with the Zombie album, which was denunciating what the military operations were in the country.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, this is the musicians that we want. This is the artists that we need to raise awareness, to let people know what they don't know sometimes, just like Yus Masekela, for example, in South Africa in apartheid. So good job for the late Fela Kuti.
Yes, Pendi, and when we look at, apart from the Fela, the music that we had in the 80s, maybe sometimes the 90s, the present day music that we have seem to detached from the engaging the government, raising awareness on certain issues. We only have, I don't know what I should call the music that we are. Yes, kind of entertainment. So how do you look at music today? When you look at the likes of Fela, Hughes Makasela, as he said?
Yes, very sad. Sadly, everything you've just said is right. because today we're not happy to discover that the music is just for entertainment. When you see Fela Kuti and his engagement, he has been thrown to jail. How many times, I don't know. He's been beaten. His mother was killed because of his music. This is engagement. I think his name meant something like the guy who cannot be killed by men or something of the kind, which is, part of is, let's say, which shows what he wanted to do. And that's what we need. We need artists who are politically engaged and who are denouncing what they don't like in the society. When you take the case of artists or any other public personality, you have a great influence, and you have to take advantage of this influence to, display ideas that will be profitable for the people. So we love what he's been doing, and we hope it will inspire other artists if he wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, Jean-Michel, through his music and human rights activism, Fela campaign against the military rule in Nigeria, which we are no longer having, but we still have the problem of corruption in not only in Nigeria but everywhere. Yes. So how do you look at this music and this kind of activism when other musicians, as Wendy said, maybe entertainment and show, like something like that?
Well, those musicians, if there's corruption in the country, it's not only for the people. I mean, not only the people bear the brunt of it, but musicians as well. So it's their right, it's their duty, because they have microphones and performance facilities to go public. And to my view, it's very linked. Being an artist, singing in an environment, so of course denunciating or appreciating sometimes what's being done in the environment, because our society is not just corrupt. There are a lot of good things that is happening in our society. There are a lot of good things that are happening in our societies also. So artists are there to display it, as Mr. Pendy said earlier on, and yes, to wear one more time.
Sometimes we said the pen is mightier than the sword, or maybe the word, the song. Because if you look at like most of these musicians, let me give you an example of this Ugandan presidential candidate, Bobby Wine. He became very popular because of his music, and what he sang touches the life of the people. So how do you? Why is it that most of this, when the government listens to the music, does not try to apply, maybe take a lead from what the musicians are saying, because they are eye of the society?
Well, because they feel threatened, to my view. They feel threatened and they just don't like it. They're trying to keep their power as safe as possible. And like you said, again, a pen is sometimes mightier than what people can just say for entertaining, etc. And music, just like a book, goes through generations. Up to now, you can still listen to what Mr. Fela used to do. We still have CDs around. So it's very powerful.
And you said they feel threatened, and maybe not only because of what he says in his music, but also because of his popularity. Like, you're gathering much people, and they may be afraid that at the end of the day you decide to apply or to
for his very own case, if I may say, for his very own case, he came up with a political party. So he was a real threat to them. And unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately, but the voting, the inductees will be announced in May after a public vote, which closes April 30th. So I think when we talk about voting, and then you look at all the other musicians, top musicians that are lining out there by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What is his chances there if some of us cannot even go out there and vote for him and something like that?
Well, I think he has great chances. First off, Africans need to work to vote. Not only Africans, people who recognize his work. I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is an American entity, and if they're the one coming up with the idea of nominating him, so they know what that means. And yes, hopefully people around the world will vote for him. I mean, when you listen to the names there, like Jay-Z or Mary J, they sound like big good names, but compared to Fela, I don't want to act Africanist, but I think they're still quite younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still quite younger. I mean, the music of Jay-Z lately hasn't been that impacting when it comes to awareness raising or denunciating stuff or growing up the society. It's been about jewelries and bling bling and insulting one another. So yes, they are popular, but they're not. I won't say that inspiring. I won't teach them to my kids. I won't teach whatever to my kids. I might teach Fela Kuti because he impacted Nigeria and he impacted Africa with his Nkrumah's ideas that he tried to keep along all the time he was on this earth. So it's very different.
Yes, artists are most of the time very popular, even than some politician or even some head of state. So why is most of these artists come out with some maybe a style of dressing that even if you take their music, you will also look at the other side of life that they have. That will also influence society negatively. Because if you look at Fela, throughout this singing, he never put on a shirt. It's always come out bare body on the stage. Yeah, and some other maybe young women like that who also have this kind of dressing. Do you think this is part of entertainment or part of the music?
No, I think now we have to talk about the responsibility of an artist. Artists have to know that the fact that they speak and they touch the heart of many people at the same time gives them power, and this power should be used to educate the people they're talking to. And the case of Fela Kuti was a perfect one because he's been, inviting people to fight for their rights, and you see. And now we're talking about education. This is also part of it. When you see his mother, for instance, who has been an activist, a social-political activist, just like him, and a Pan-Africanist, you see that he's been in this world since his birth, and he was just able to share it with the guys after that, and that's what we hope artists will do, and definitely.
Yes, apart from the Fela issue of trying to change the government, why is it, because for ages we have been talking about changes in Africa in terms of corruption, in terms of the government building infrastructures. Why is it very difficult? Why is it difficult, if not very difficult, for government to listen to the populace when they are talking?
Well, it's a big issue here when it comes to interest, because the question you say, some people will tell you that they listen, they do, because for Nigeria, for example, a democratic country, sometimes the president has voices that go for him, votes, that people vote for him. So for some people, they're just very satisfied. So it'll be difficult to say, why don't they listen to what people say? In some big cases, yes, we feel like governments don't really care about what people say, but I'm afraid it's not always like this all the time. I mean, in Benin, in Nigeria, in Ghana, those regimes are fairly elected, and they do believe in the leaders. They abide by what he says and by what they say. Sorry, and yes, it's quite difficult to say that they always never really listen to the people.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it might also be a problem of corruption. Because when you have corruption in a country, you may have ideas, or you may try to consider ideas coming from the people, but to apply them, it's something else. You may give the money to this minister. The minister is going to transfer the money to someone else, and then someone else, and then someone else. But each one is trying to take the money. I will take the case of school, for instance. Some budgets are dedicated to social educational activities in schools, and then it goes to the headmaster. The headmaster takes his part, and then he goes to the Secretary General of the cooperative. He takes his part, and it's always diminishing the budget.
Is it not part of what the society needs? Because if I am, or if someone around me is appointed a minister, maybe my uncle, or your uncle or yours is appointed a minister, he, after serving his term, he comes back without having a car. Won't you mock at him? Look at this one. He was a minister. He did not do anything. He could not even have a house. But because he was trying to live a life of integrity, he did not want to soil his hand in corrupt practices, and will become a laughing stock. But when one is amassing wealth, a lot of cars, the society seems to appreciate this kind of a person.
That's all about education. We have to educate the people and let them understand that being a minister doesn't mean being a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
No, nonsense. You have to watch Thomas Sankara interview. You have to see his lifestyle. You have to, and that's what we have to apply here. And understand that being a minister or having high responsibilities doesn't mean to make money from these responsibilities, but rather to serve the people taking advantage of this position. So that's part of education too.
To serve the people, this is a problem here.
Yes.
Why is it difficult for government, even the ministers, government to serve the citizens? Because the government will say they have tried, but that is not. It does not go down. The citizens are not feeling the impact of the government. What is the problem?
Well, the main problem, to my view, is integrity. Once somebody does not have any sense of integrity, it's going to be very difficult. A minister or a member of parliament is supposed to live normally, proper, decent life according to what they have. By the text of any countries, can afford a car, can have a beautiful mansion, he can send his kids to the best schools of the country, just that. But going beyond this, sometimes it's greediness, and it's a vicious cycle, because the very same people that sometimes criticize are the ones going on weekends to that man, asking for money, requiring him to do this or that, and so many things. So it's quite vicious as a cycle, because the very same minister is going to tell you at the end that where do you think he earns the money if it's not taken from the national budget, for example. So every person, they say, there's a saying going that a chain is as strong as its weakest link. If one person is always asking or expecting from somebody, he cannot ask that somebody not to be corrupt, because that person is supposed to take care of his family only. By the time you come and ask all the time, or you become his responsibility or her responsibility instead of working for yourself, then you pressurizing that person towards whether theft or corruption, or so. Us as
how
people,
do we how do we check as a society? How do we check this so that if it comes from as a music, the musician has done their part to sing, criticize, and condemn the society massively? How can we check this? Not this thing has been done, the budget has been given, at the end of the day, that job is not done, to build a hospital is not built, schools are not built, road infrastructures are just not there, but the money has been approved. How can we, the society, check this menace?
This is very complicated. You have to have information from there to know that the money has been given and has been, but if you don't have this information, it will be complicated. Then we thank our engaged artists who go and look for the information and then say it in their music like this, just like Fela Kuti.
But finish?
No, you can go ahead.
Thank you. If it's a matter of auditing, we have auditing companies. What we need is strong institutions. This is what Obama said to African leaders. And up to here, unfortunately for some, we don't have them. It's not actually even a matter of Africa, it's a matter of the world. We see it in Europe less, but in America we've seen it before. So we need strong institutions that denunciate stuff, that denunciate what is not approved by the government, by the law, and things shall be better. It's a huge struggle. It sounds very easy to say it like this. Words are easy to utter out, but it's a huge struggle.
If it is a huge struggle, it therefore means we are going to live with this kind of life, this kind of a situation for a very long time.
I think slowly but surely we're getting somewhere, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody has one's responsibility, we need to bear that.
Responsibility is not only of the artists but also intellectuals who have to keep on writing. I remember Donald Trump who was talking about African intellectuals and saying in Africa there is no intellectual. Simply because he sees that you have dictators, but when you are an intellectual, you're supposed to criticize it. I know it's complicated. I know you're fearing for your family and everyone around, but sometimes you have to take your responsibilities and take your pen, which might be much more powerful
mighty,
than
mighty.
It's very careful.
Well, before we round up, there is a song that has gone viral, still on corruption in Zimbabwe. I don't know whether you have listened to that song. This is corruption. Corruption has been a bane of our society. How do we tackle this? Just in a very few words.
It comes from the mind first. We need to brainwash our mind the right appropriate way. Thinking about the public instead of just ourselves, because corruption is just thinking about you and I need this, I need that, just for me. But by the time you think about the public, this is the public road, this is the public money, this is a public facility, etc., then if you get to the point of respecting it, then we're chasing away corruption, slowly but surely.
Yes, Wendy.
I think one of the solutions to fight against corruption is legitimacy. I will explain, because when you have a legitimate government, people are not discussing what is given by the government. The government may give instructions, the government may educate and say corruption is not good, and then the people accept it. So for this matter of legitimacy, we need to have democracy. We need to accept, we need to have on the power the people we voted for, and then slowly, little by little, things will...
Well, slowly, little by little, and government legitimacy when it's come to voting and all that, we need transparency in every aspect of our life so that we can have basic infrastructures on our continent, and we'll be proud to be African as we are. For that, we have come to the end of the 7th round. Thank you for watching. Keep it with us next Sunday as we bring more issues on the continent. Thank you for watching. Jean-Michel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Willie.
Thank you for coming. Wendy.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.